Hey, Jay Sullivan is here in China this week, and I think it's a good time to give a small update regarding the Chinese US relationship, the atmosphere at the moment. And finally, it is time for me to introduce to you guys Professor Shen over here. There's a reason why I didn't bring this guy to my channel earlier because I think he's controversial. Well, at least to me. He's a geopolitical commentator and an associate professor in Fudan University in Shanghai. I think in terms of popularity, and Chinese audience can correct me if I'm wrong, Professor Jin and Professor Shen are the two most popular faces on social media, Chinese social media that is, when it comes to geopolitics. Professor Jin definitely belonged to an older generation, and Professor Shen here represent the younger generation. And he also speak good English. He had a podcast with who was it? Larry Johnson a month ago. Let me find out the video and show it to you guys over here.
Did you get a chance to watch the debate Thursday night between Joe Biden and Donald Trump?
Of course, I watched the whole debate for that 90 minutes.
Okay. Were you scared to death, or what? What was your reaction?
I laughed to death.
The reason I didn't feature his videos because I consider him to be too sharp with his words. And you know, there are many geopolitical channels with guests that is considered Chinese hawk here on YouTube, right? They're very anti-Chinese. And I would consider Professor Shen Yi over here to be US hawk. Okay, he makes some good points definitely, and there's an advantage to be a geopolitical presenter as a younger generation because he's much more familiar and informed in the digital space. He actually had a lecture in Fudan University talking about, I think, the entire architecture of the US internet monetary prism system. And he often liked to be sarcastic with his wording. Let me give you guys an example here. Because China has strict internet control, right? And US many years ago didn't have that much control. So Professor Sun is like, Americans are such a slow learner. We told you guys you need to control your media. How can you let something like TikTok into your country, right? You need to control that media space. Because yeah, China might be using its domestic control over media to censor or to hide some of its wrongdoing within its own border. But US is often using its control over global media space to hide its wrongdoing to other countries. So, for example, now we have TikTok that is going around spreading this real image of Gaza, for example, and US, Israel. All you guys need to, ban TikTok. That's disinformation, right? So removing TikTok in US is not enough anymore. You need to have all your allies to also remove TikTok as well, so you can keep the narrative intact, right? So since Professor Shen Yi today, his attitude is more hawkish towards the United States. So if I have American audience who are touchy and get triggered easily, it might be good to just, skip this video and not watch it. Okay, Americans, are you ready to be offended? Okay, here we go. I've been playing Black Myth Wukong all week. I haven't finished the game yet, but the producer told me to stop playing the game because Jay Sullivan is here again. It's time to make a video. I was like, okay, here we go again. To be honest with you guys, I don't want to make this video because we will have to talk about the relationship between US and China again. And it is very discouraging and depressing at the moment. This kind of helplessness and failure. Talking to the US government is like talking to someone who has ASD, half asleep. An individual having this illusion of the world that only fits his own narrative. Everyone else's perspective is wrong. If you talk to this kind of people in real life, no matter how hard you try to reason with them, it will fail. All the US want to say here is you need to do this, you need to do that, and you also need to do a few other things. If you do all of those things, our relationship can get back on track. This kind of mentality, who only knows how to negotiate from a position of absolute strength. Why? Why should China obey? Are you my house cat? You know, cat has this attitude of that the pet owner need to feed him and groom him and pick up droppings after him. And it is an honor for the master to take care of the cat. So he's referring to the United States is acting like those spoiled pet, okay? It should be China's honor to take care of the United States, right? Why exactly? Today's United States, the decision makers, especially the foreign policy department, I want to be absolutely honest with my audience here. It is abnormal. Its understanding of the world is abnormal. There's another Chinese geopolitical analyst who referred to the US Foreign Policy Department as self-hypnosis, self-numbing. It is a serious medical condition that is spreading through the body of the United States. I do not think this is a symptom unique only when US is dealing with China, but to many other countries in the world as well. The problem might be that this sickening attitude towards China is more severe than compared to other countries in the world. I think today's China is a large and powerful enough country that we can engage with the United States at equal footing. And at that level, we, the Chinese, can really feel that sickness, that disease that is spreading within the United States. Let me tell my audience the main purpose of Jade's trip to the United States. Let me tell my audience the main purpose of Jade's trip to China. It's because of the presidential election. Jade is here to tell China that China needs to help Kamala Harris to win the election. And China needs to contribute to Kamala Harris' campaign in order to assist Harris to win the election in 2024. China needs to tell the world that Biden's foreign policy is brilliant over the last 4 years. Biden's monetary policy is brilliant. Biden's China policy is brilliant. That's why Biden is a good president. And Kamala Harris will follow in Biden's footsteps and be a good president as well. That's Jade's purpose in China, mainly. And then Professor Shen went on and talked about US economy. Let's see what he says here. The United States is about to make some big move in the financial monetary sector this September. Today's United States economy is like a floodgate, opening up the dam, allow the water to get through. When there's too much water, close the dam. And the entire US economy responds to that. And almost nothing else. It's an economy that is completely financialized and hollowed out from within. Okay, I need to pause here for a bit. So for people who are unfamiliar with this metaphor of a floodgate economy, I think he's referring to that many of the traditional sectors in US economy are becoming uncompetitive. And the government have to do this kind of quantitative easing to keep injecting liquidity into the system to keep the country afloat. But when inflation hit, you need to do quantitative tightening, right, QT? But this kind of action actually disrupt the natural selection process of business itself, breaking the equilibrium when you try to keep business alive when those businesses are not qualified to be alive. So in the long run, you have a good chunk of the economy and business that are actually acting like a zombie. they pursue risky investment and expect government to bail them out during the QE section, right? So that's why he's referring to it like a floodgate, a bunch of people just standing, underneath and say that, okay, we can't operate anymore. When are you gonna let the cash down and give us some room to breathe? And when the gate open, they will be complaining, that, okay, the inflation is going up. We're drowning in money inflation. Can you close the gate? So it's almost just responding to that and nothing else. All right, let's continue. The United States' desire for upgrading physical infrastructure and its desire to draw manufacturing back to the United States is literally a joke. The United States is basically a giant financial money bubble right now. So when the US considers its own economy doing good, means that it needs to expand the bubble to create the illusion that it is doing good or is growing. So for the last quarter of 2024, I expect the Fed to lower the interest rate by more than 25 basis points, maybe more likely to be 50 basis points at least. However, if the United States push forward this monetary policy, and China is not willing to play along, or let's say China is not willing to sacrifice its own interests in order to accommodate the United States, the United States monetary policy will fall short of its expectations. So in reality, the United States need to beg China to provide assistance. The tragedy now is that both the Democrats and the Republicans in the United States is pursuing an anti-China policy. The Democrats' attitude is this: the United States is the strongest country in the world. Number one, we Democrats have the best policy ever. You Republicans are the losers. You always think America is not doing good. That's wrong. That's false narrative. That's Trump disinformation. Trump and MAGA is a virus. Just close your eyes and say to yourself, America is doing fine. Everything is fine. That's why US do not need to accept any condition from China. China need to just accept all our terms. The US has sent jade to China. China need to feel appreciated and honored and meet US demand.
How tragic would that be, huh? You are one of the court. We don't need to resort to violence. How about you bend the knees, admit the wrongs, and we can put this behind us.
I think Professor Sun has been playing too much Black Myth Wukong here, definitely. Okay, on to the Republicans. This is what he says. The Republican attitude is this. The Trump attitude, that is. We America is the best. We knock on other people's door and they will automatically turn in all their money. Everyone wants to work with the United States. Everyone wants to be financially harvested by the United States. Why would the United States trade with other countries? Other countries should just turn in their money and wealth to us. We just need to demand and the world will provide. And Republican attitude is China owe US's prosperity and achievement. We are only asking a little bit, tiny little bit in return. When the US sanction China, China need to remain silent. Do not retaliate. Do not discuss. Just take it. China need to act like the character in the Bible. When the United States slap you through your right cheek, you need to offer your left cheek as well. And after US slap both of your cheek, you need to ask the United States, did my cheek hurt your face? I'm so sorry. That's what United States expect from the Chinese. All right, now he gave the following conclusion that the US Foreign Policy Department, Jake and the other guys, are sleepwalking. They are living in a fantasy world. Yes, it is true that with absolute power, the United States can bend the world's order to its own desire. And China understands that geopolitical reality and respects such power. However, the reality is that the United States do not command such power any longer. The world has evolved and changed. Both Kamala Harris and Donald Trump gave the impression that they do not understand such reality. And he gave a conclusion to his video by saying the following. Okay, this is his final statement. And remember, this video is for Chinese domestic consumption. Okay, I'm just translating this. Jay won China's support on Kamala Harris, but do not offer anything in return. Jay didn't even offer anything to China, even if China helped Kamala to win the election. China understands that because the entire atmosphere of US now is very anti-China, and Harris cannot see to be weak against China, even if she wins. I'll be honest, this is very challenging for China, but at the end, might makes right. China is on the rise. This is undeniable. I encourage my audience, he's referring to Chinese audience by the way, to see China as equal to the United States, not as its inferior or subordinate. The entire world is experiencing a downward economic cycle, and China is deeply affected by that. If you look truly into every country in the world right now, in detail, you will find out that we are in a global recession depression era. And China, compared to all major large economies, is performing the best and is positioned to ride through this storm. Let me ask my Chinese audience a fundamental question about US. Those who claim the US is doing good, with all those good data and good numbers. Here is the question. Where did the Trump supporter come from? If the Kamala Harris Biden Democrats did such a good job with the economy, why would Trump have such a large numbers of supporters if the economy is doing truly that well? In China, the government and the regular people are both honest with the economy not doing so well. In US, the government is telling people everything is fine, and the majority of the people feel otherwise. So he went on and talked about other technical issues, and the conclusion is that the US is printing money to make itself look big in short term, but can't strengthen its position in the long term. That's what he said, and this is his last statement. The continuation of communication between China and US is necessary, but Chinese Americans and the rest of the world need to understand that China and the US is going through a transition period in which the two countries need to seek a new balance and cooperate in a way that will benefit both countries going forward. So I expect some of my American friends should be very pissed off with Professor Shen and his speech here. Okay, time for me to offer my own opinion on all of this, okay? I make a video at the beginning of my channel talking about Chinese attitude towards the United States today, and I said that in the video, the older Chinese generation are more neutral and friendly towards the United States, but the younger generation, as demonstrated by Professor Shen here, is more hawkish towards the US, more hostile. And this is due to the global media space at the moment. The English media space especially has a lot of negative views and news about China, right? And of course, this is only towards the government, not towards regular Americans traveling to China. The older generation is not affected so much because they don't go on social media that much. So they are not exposed to all those hate speech and hate narrative, right? And so they are more neutral leaning. Well, regarding the content of that speech, yeah, if you look past the jokes and insults, yes, you can find a lot of valuable details in there, but it's just not the kind of atmosphere I want to put forward in my channel. So I'm gonna give you guys my own take, and I hope that the way I will put it will be more tame and acceptable. If I invite him to my channel, I think in the English media space, he's going to be more tame as well and respectful. But sometimes I understand many Chinese geopolitical analysts are getting very frustrated with the current situation. Well, this is how I would set it. So basically, I'm kind of reflecting on what he said, and I'll put forward in my own way. The post-World War II world order is designed and governed centered around the Western civilization. All right, everyone need to understand that, and we consider the Soviet and the Russian also to be part of that Western civilization. And in this so-called world order, many rules and regulations and systems are designed to benefit the hegemons, the West, the leading countries, okay? And that world order is slowly coming to an end. It's a natural evolution. It's not some sinister D of some other country. It's natural progression, is how I would see it. Okay, let me find a way to describe this. I watch Formula One racing. During the early hybrid engine era, for those people who are unfamiliar with the sport, Mercedes dominated the racetrack because they had a head start in developing hybrid engine. Their cars are so fast that the driver can just half-ass most of the race and can still win by 20-30 seconds, sometimes winning all the other cars from the other teams by a whole lap. But over the years, the dividends of that engine advantage slowly eroded. Other manufacturers are rapidly catching up. And there's another issue. I think it is very interesting to use as a comparison. During the years that Mercedes dominate, it is natural that Mercedes will lag behind in its suspension development or aerodynamic development. Because when you're leading other cars so much, you don't have the urge to develop other components. And also that you don't really know that, well, you're lagging behind. You can tell. Maybe you lose out in those difficult corners for, 0.1 seconds, but you're winning a whole second in every straight. So who cares? But now, when the other manufacturers are catching up, the engine outputs from the other cars are similar to Mercedes. Mercedes find out that their other components are lagging behind and their cars are slower. This year, McLaren is starting to win many races way ahead of Mercedes, and they're using Mercedes engines. I think this is what happened, generally speaking, in the West. We're coming to an end of Western-dominated world order for the first time in 4 centuries. The technological advantage, the advantage to industrialize first, the military advantage that comes with industrialization, all those advantages come together to put the collective West in a dominating position. And in that dominating position, you can dictate regulations, financial system to favor yourself. That overall advantage, just like the Mercedes hybrid engine advantage, is coming to an end. Mercedes, using its superior engine advantage to win races, neglecting development of other areas. The collective West today, especially the United States, just like Mercedes, has over-dependent its economy on its monetary supremacy to solve its domestic problems. And by expanding the money supply, currency-dominating nations can export those problems to the rest of the world and ride through those difficult humps. That era is coming to an end. And I'm saying this in a very respectable way, okay? And people here in the United States, for example, found out that, we are underdeveloped in infrastructure, right? We're underdeveloped in our primary education system, underdeveloped in our manufacturing. It didn't hurt us before, not that much. This is because we can just print money and charge your head. Just like Mercedes can just, step on the gas pedal and overtake, even without activating DRS. My impression is this, okay? If you look at the US leadership today, doesn't matter, Democrats, Republicans, I don't feel like they understand that their engine advantage is coming to an end. To me, it feels like many people, such as Elon Musk maybe, or Ray Dalio, understand what's going on, but the politicians, they really don't. They're still drunk in this massive money printing machine. Did you guys see the Kamala Harris economic plan? Oh my god. I was laughing at the Republican plan. And the Kamala plan was even worse. I think the establishment, the ruling elite, the deep state, if you want to call it, I think they actually understand this very well. To me, they are the real power that controls the United States and perhaps some other countries. And what they are doing right now is they are going around punching holes into other countries' engines and doing things like, you're not going to catch up with us. It really feels like the United States is doing that instead. I'm going to sabotage your engine and I'm going to bribe the racing regulators, claiming other teams and countries are violating rules. Your cars won the race because your driver took, illegal substances, hormones, things like that. You see, all the US politicians who came to China over the past several months, I'm trying to be polite here. They are all uninvited. If you read all the background of those meetings, why do they come to begin with? I think it's for PR to demonstrate to the voters in US that the current US government is still in control and China respect us or fear us. That's it really. I mean, literally the entire Chinese geopolitical commentators are like asking, why are you here again? We're not gonna solve any problems. You're gonna, stick to your line and your narrative. There's really nothing to talk about. Why do they travel to the Middle East so much, right? Pretending they can change anything. At the end, it's Israel that's obviously dictating on everything else, and US is just there to pretend that they're working out a peace solution. In reality, they don't have decision power in that space. So, well, you know what? Give me a minute to think about this. I thought about this very hard, okay? There's a chance that Jay Sullivan is here representing the ruling establishment, the deep state, whatever you want to call it. And Jay is here in China to make a request, to demand China, okay? To do a certain things, probably in the financial sector, before Fed lowers its interest rate. If China don't obey, the US will activate some backup plan. What is that backup plan? I'm not sure. I can't guess. Maybe something dramatic to go after Trump again, or color revolution India maybe. Oh, next video is on India. Thanks for watching and I'll see you guys. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I'll see you guys in the next video.